In the dust of forgotten highways, in the shadows of roadside diners, we're spinning yarn from strange America, where every tale's got a twist, and not all ghosts wear chains. Howdy, friend. We just made it back from Grand Junction, and I have a few stories from my travels. That'll be for another day. I hope you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones, 'cause tonight I have a few strange requests from the Midwest. And this first story is a cold one, partner. So stoke the fire and drink something warm, because here's a story truer to memory and colder than bone. This tale's called White Silence, Black Eyes. Blizzard of 78, Yuma Hills, Michigan. January 1978, snowstorm of the century they called it, in Mesig. The world vanished beneath a crust of ice in a sky that wouldn't quit snowing. Out in the Yuma Hills, bare hardwoods groaning under white weight. A 12-year-old boy named Samuel Bishop stomped out into that storm with anger hot enough to melt gravel. It started small. His mother asked him to bring in the wood. He snapped at her. She asked again, and he said something cruel and as cold as the ice on Carp Lake in the dead of winter. Her face crumpled, and Samuel laughed. His little brothers, 8 and 7, watched from the kitchen table, wide-eyed, clutching their hot cocoa, like maybe warmth could fix what words had broken. Samuel pulled on his coat, kicked open the door, and disappeared into the storm. He didn't look back. By nightfall, the power cut out. The wind howled like it wanted in, but inside the house, it was silence that screamed. His mother bundled the boys under quilts, then stepped onto the porch, shouting his name into a white that didn't answer. Search parties scoured the woods, found his boot prints leading into the timber, then found others. 3-toed, wide, and spaced like something ran on hunger, not feet. No blood, no clothing. Just scratch marks on a sugar maple, 7 feet high, and a warmth in the bark that shouldn't have been there. Some say he froze. Some say it was the dog man. Others say he got lost. But the Bishop family knows better, even if they deny it to any nosy folks coming round. Because ever since, whenever snow falls thick and quiet, the brothers, grown men now, wake to a tapping at their windows. 3 knocks. Always 3. Campers hear giggles in the trees, and low to the ground, childlike footprints circling tents that weren't there the night before, and a boy's shape, blurry in the snowfall. They say Samuel Bishop walks the Yuma Hills still. Not gone, not forgotten. Just changed, and still watching. Looking for the next young man with a sharp tongue and a cruel heart. So mind your mama, and mind your papa, because Samuel and the dog man just might be listening and watching. Snow don't just bury things. Sometimes it preserves the worst moment of your life. Forever frozen, forever knocking, and forever strange. Alright now, friend. Let's grease the griddle, dim the lights, and take a midnight drive into Rust Belt territory, where the pies and the coffee is always hot. The jukebox croons just one song, and customers, well, they haven't paid a tab since Roosevelt was in office. Booth 6 at Dot's Diner, Marrow Township, Ohio. Last open, October 1946. Back in the tail end of the war years, tucked at a crossroads near nowhere in particular, stood Dot's Diner. Silver rail car, checkerboard floor, and a coffee pot that never cooled. It was the kind of place where you could get meatloaf at midnight and forget the world just had torn itself in two. Dot herself ran the counter, hair uptight, lipstick like war paint, and a memory like steel wool. She remembered every name, every order, and every sorrow that walked through that door. One autumn night in 46, a soldier named Hank rolled in, quiet, still in uniform, ordered a slice of lemon meringue, and said he was waiting on his girl, Margaret. Said she'd promised she'd meet him there if the war didn't take him. He waited till close, never touched the pie. Next morning they found his body slumped in booth 6, stiff as a jukebox. No sign of trauma, just a smile on his face and a worn letter in his hand addressed to Dot and Margaret. No one knows what was on that letter. The diner shuttered up just a week later. But folks say ever so often, on cool autumn nights, especially under a harvest moon, if you're driving through Marrow Township just past 2:58 a.m., you might see Dot's Diner lit up like it's 1946. Inside, coffee brewing, pie steaming, and a man in uniform sitting at booth 6, smiling at the door that never opens. Jukebox always plays the same tune. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places. Only no one can ever quite remember the words after that line. And if you stop, if you walk in, Dot might pour you up a cup and ask you who you waiting for. Don't answer, just smile, nod, and mosey on out. Because once you say a name, the door locks behind you. The lights dim, and the pie, it goes cold. A couple of folks back in 87 stumbled upon the diner, said they walked in, and turned right around. Virginia Reed was one of those folks. Said that when they walked into that diner, they got an eerie but warm, cozy feeling beckoning them. Said it felt like their souls were trying to leave and join the soldier for coffee and pie. After that encounter, the Reeds never drove late at night again, only traveling during the day and never stopping at old diners. Friend, some diners serve meals, Others serve memories too heavy to carry alone. So watch yourselves when you're driving late at night, in the middle of nowhere in particular. For our third story, let's take a walk back to 1949, when the quiet town of Churubusco, Indiana, found itself at the center of a legend too big to ignore and too slippery to catch. The shell that never sank. Churubusco, Indiana, spring 1949. They called it Oscar. Not just after a man, but after a memory. Oscar Folk, the farmer who first saw the creature back in 1898, said it lived in a lake behind his barn. Said it was a turtle, but not the kind you scoop from a pond. This one was massive, ancient, eyes polished like stone, shell wide enough to seat a family. Folks laughed and he let it go. But 50 years later, the beast came back. In July of 1948, two fishermen, Ora Blue and Charlie Wilson, were out on Folk Lake when something surfaced. Not a log, not a shatter, a turtle. Big as a rowboat. They said it watched them. Didn't flee, just sank, slow and deliberate, like it knew it had all the time in the world. Word spread. Gail Harris, who owned the land then, saw it too. So did others. And by early 1949, the Beast of Busco was national news. They tried everything. Drained the lake, built dams, sent divers, cameras, reporters, even Life magazine showed up. But Oscar, he never surfaced again. Not for proof, not for capture, just for memory. Some say it was a hoax, others say it was real, and smart enough to know when it overstayed its welcome. Few believe it's still down there, buried in the silt, waiting for the right moon, the right silence, and the right pair of eyes. And every June, Churubusco throws a festival, turtle days, parades, races, laughter. But beneath it all, there's a whisper. He's still down there. Some legends don't need teeth to haunt you. Just a ripple, just a shell, just a feeling that something old is watching from below. Alright now, partner. It's almost time for me to hit the hay. So for our last tale from the Midwest, let's head northeast across the cornfields of Michigan, just shy of where M13 stretches like a scar through farm country, and the wind off of Lake Huron, it carries a bite, even in July. There's a story whispered in Linwood that don't show up on tourist pamphlets. And if you've ever felt watched while gassing up at that lonely station near the wildlife preserve, you might have brushed shoulders with it already. The Imp of Linwood. They say it first appeared in the spring of 1944, right after the thaw, when the fields were too soggy to plow, and the woods behind the bait shop hadn't stopped creaking. A boy named Arnold Haskett saw it first. A hunched figure, no taller than a tackle box, skin like damp slate, and eyes that shimmered green, no matter how dim the light. Arnold thought it was a fox at first, until it stood on two legs and whispered his name and said, "Arnold Haskett, I see you, boy." From that day on, strange things stirred in Linwood. Tractors broke down without a cause. Barn cats went missing. Footprints, three-clawed, splayed wide like something with bad intentions, showed up in fresh mud behind the church. Folks blamed weather, varmints, even local kids. The Haskett boy never spoke again. Some say the imp is tied to the marshes near Lake Huron, born of fog and old curses. Something that slipped between the worlds when the shoreline thinned too much. It's clever, they say. Likes games. Leaves smooth stones on porches. Rearranges silverware. Mimics voices late at night. Usually the voice of someone long dead. They say if it likes you, you'll hear your own name whispered from a tree that wasn't there yesterday. And if it doesn't, well, your lights might flicker, your dreams might change, and one morning you'll wake up with lake water in your boots and cedar needles in your mouth. So the next time you're driving M13 past Linwood, roll up your windows and don't answer any voices coming from the ditch, especially if they say your name. Because the Imp of Linwood doesn't steal your body. It borrows your shadow to play with. That's the end of the road for now, friends. If the wind carries voices that ain't got mouths, and the river runs backwards just before dawn, don't ask why. Just know you've crossed over. We'll find you next time in the strange.